Fans of a Horus Heresy, Ed 209, and having many different weapon options available for your Dreadnought models, thank you very much for joining me for a build and chat video. And as you may have deduced from the title, this video is going to be about how to magnetize the arm weapons for the heavy support Deredeo Dreadnought kit made by Forge World. You can see we have some Deredeo or Deredeo, or I don't know, if you're old enough, Eddie Dreadnought parts set out in front of us. And I'm going to show you, I'm not building this whole thing, but I am going to set the magnets up for a person who's buying this model off me. And I thought it might be interesting to share my particular approach to this with you, because it is one of the trickier Dreadnought models to magnetize. Probably it's not one of the trickier, it is the trickiest, without a doubt. So that's what this video is about. While we are doing this video, I'm going to chat about a number of topics as usual, and we've not done that in a while, so yeah, that is the plan. The reason this Dreadnought is tricky to magnetize is because not only do you have the arm weapons, you have separate shoulder blocks, these here, and in addition to that, you have the energy or ammunition packs that mount on the rear of a Dreadnought, which are connected via some form of ammo linkage, in this instance with a plasma carronade. It is power cables, whereas in the case of the autocannons, it is a shell feed mechanism, or shell feed belt, I should say. So that is what we're going to be doing in this video. As is customary, we shall start off with a quick rundown of what the tools are for today's demonstration. I've got a couple of craft knives, a sharp one and a blunt one for doing any cutting and smoothing work. We have a needle file. This is a hemispherical cross section, flat underside and tapering to a point. We have a bradawl spike by Friedrich Dick Tools, and this will be for making like a drill hole or a starting hole, a guide hole for where we put the magnets. Talking of which, we have the magnets themselves, and we're going to be using two different sizes of magnet. Firstly, we have these. These are 2x2mm N52 grade neodymium magnets. And here we have 1x2mm, again, N52 grade neodymium magnets. And the reason for having two thicknesses of magnet will become clear later. To mount the magnets, we have a pin vise, and we will be using this drill here, which I think is about 2.5mm diameter. That is a drill for metal. Metal drills work very well on resin. And we then have some glue. We've got straightforward. This is relatively thick super glue from a Mitre Bond kit. And we also have the accelerant as well, should I wish to set the magnets quickly, which I probably will do, given what we're doing. And last but not least, our good old favourite dusty brush for getting rid of any shavings or other debris as we work. So those are the tools. Let's now start with just a quick overview of the parts, because it's a little bit more complicated than most magnetization videos. So we'll start with the torso. In terms of the torso, this is the Deredeo Dreadnought's torso. The points of interest are these two mounting brackets at the rear, and those mounting brackets accept the ammunition hoppers or the power packs. And we can see that we've got this fairly large cutout which the ammunition or power pack locates into it. And you get that the same on both sides, like so. So we're going to mount one magnet in here and one magnet in here. Because it is quite a thin piece, we are going to use the 1mm thick magnet on here, which isn't the strongest attachment, but we are going to mirror that with a 2mm depth one, which will give a much more affirmative purchase here and achieve a net result we are after. So that's like the first bit. Now, the second thing is the actual weapon arms itself. Now, the Deredeo is quite a complex kit in terms of the mounting, or a more complex kit, because you have the shoulder blocks. And then into the shoulder blocks, if I get the right one, this one, yeah, Is it? No, I've got the wrong. There we go. You have this mount here, and that locates in there like so. Now, as to where you actually put a magnet, you've got to think about this because the shoulder block has been well designed to allow you to articulate the weapon arm. But that then means you have to think carefully about where on here and here do we put a magnet. And the answer to that is this internal ridge here. And what happens is this part locates into that. I wouldn't recommend trying to magnetize using the hinge section in effect, because you haven't got a proper attachment, whereas here is going to attach into there. And the magnet I'm going to use for that is a 2x2mm magnet on both sides. And then that will click in like so. With the plasma carronade, the detached barrel, which is a separate piece, that goes on the underside of the weapon assembly, like that. I think that's an issue that is unique to the plasma carronade. Most weapons are easier to orientate the correct way up, but these, yeah, you just need to think about that. And you could do be mindful, because you don't want to stick it on this way, then find out that your power connection point is in the wrong place. And then you are having to sort of fudge trying to fit that. So yeah, just one thing to bear in mind. In summary, we are going to mount 1mm depth magnets in here and here, and then 2mm depth magnets in here, 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 and there. So that is the broad principle of this job. I'm not building this. This is going to someone I know on Twitter called Rianne, or Ree. She's fairly new to the heresy, and this is actually a spare Deredeo. And it just so turned out that she was after a Deredeo for one of the greatest legions of Horus Heresy, the Word Bearers. Yeah. I offered to do the magnetization for her, set the magnets up. She's quite new to this. I'm going to leave the rest of assembly for her to complete so she can pose it how she wants. Oh gosh, so that's a 10-minute preamble. Just one final thought. You don't have to magnetize weapons on the Deredeo. I mean, here is an example. This guy is armed with the Volkite Falconet battery and the Boreas anti-air missile system. This is part of my Serrated Sun Word Bearers drop force, and he'll be off for painting in a few days. But yeah, you don't have to magnetize the weapons. I was pretty set on always using it with the Volkite weapons for my particular army. So I just stuck it in positions. And there is advantage of doing that. I mean, I've spent a lot of time and effort getting this pose just so. And I think it's, if it's magnetized, it just makes it that bit harder to do. I can see a strong reason as well for magnetizing the weapon batteries on this thing. I'm trying to think, where should we put this guy so we can have a little bit of eye candy? There you go. That can go there. Let's now begin. I think I might start with these because these are going to be the easiest, and I think it's always good to start easy and then work your way up to the harder things. So looking at this and this, I'm going to put the magnet as far this way, as far left, or as far forward, I suppose, as I can. I want to probably put it about there. So I'll start off by marking a couple of guide holes with the Bradle spike. So do that, and then that serves as a nice place to start drilling, and that's going to be about right. You don't want it too close to the edge because you'll have no resin to drill into. So let's try and get this about the same on each side. That's about right. Let's start thinking about some chat. So firstly, I hope you're all well in this peculiar and at some points concerning time of the this global coronavirus pandemic. So yes, I do hope you, your family and your friends are all well. Now, what's coming out of that, I suppose, dovetailing that into thinking about our hobby, I guess the big news is all of Games Workshop is now reopened for trade. Forge World reopened last week, or was it earlier this week? Earlier this week, I think. No, last week, June 17th. So they are now open and trading. They've sold out of loads of Heresy model stock. Clearly, everyone was desperate to buy, and it just goes to show how much in demand, the Heresy is. So, yeah, interesting. So, some return to normality there in this otherwise peculiar time. So I've now got my 2.5mm drill. I'm going to start drilling out these holes for the first set of magnets. That's okay. Well, I'm in the upper room at the moment. It's midday. It's rather hot here in England. So but it's also, there's kind of like some noise outside. Although where I live is relatively quiet, I've had to close off all the windows. So hopefully over the course of this video, I'm not going to expire from heat stroke. So if you do hear a thud, yeah, well, this video will never get to YouTube, so you never know, will you? But yes, it's certainly warm. Okay, I think I need the bigger of the two drill bits. I think I miscalculated which I wanted then. So I'm going to go to this one, which is, if I get the scalpel, this one is 3mm. It's about 3mm. Right, I got an initial bit of a hole there. Ah, that's better. Yeah. I wonder if those are 3mm magnets. Maybe they are. Right, I do apologise for this chat, viewers. Have I got my sizes confused? Yes, actually, I do beg your pardon. These are 3mm diameter, 3x2s and 3x1mm diameter magnets, not 2s, which was why 2mm, a 2.5mm drill was not of sufficient size. So I'm glad I did that little confusion up caused by me. So nice and easy to drill this out. Metal drills, particularly nice new sharp ones like those, they make short work of resin. And this is going to be in position very quickly. Right, chat. Now, I have a fellow content creator for the Heresy to give a shout out to. And this person is called the Race For Terra, and they're active on YouTube. They've got a YouTube channel and also on Twitter. Now, there's a video that the Race For Terra recently published called History of a Forge World Style of Painting, Why the Horus Heresy Painting is Different. And it's a great video. It really, really is. It's a fantastic video. I highly recommend you watch it. I'll put some details on screen. I'll also leave a link in the description. Please do go check that out. It's well researched and there's some good original research in there. And you might watch that and go, wow, this makes sense of something looking at in plain sight all the time. So yeah, the Race For Terra. Please do check his channel out. He's also got some good general videos on weathering techniques and painting with oils and I think enamels, I just forget now, and how you can use that to create effects and looks that suit the Heresy style very well. We have got this first magnet recessed. That is a nice flush depth, which is just what we want. You want it as level as you can with the contact surface. Thinking about our physics 101, magnetism is a very powerful force, but its effect drops off very rapidly with range. So if you separate magnets without thinking about it, you lose a lot of the bonding, the attraction strength. Right, so moving on to the second power pack now. Let's get this one drilled out too. Need to just pull that one back in a bit. Let's have a little bit of latitude with these. You know, when you're doing something and everything's by hand, you've got a little bit of wiggle room. And the first one isn't the most important, it's the opposing magnet, to try and get that located as precisely with the first one as you can, because again, that'll help for a stronger bond. So that's taking shape nicely. When you're drilling, it's always important to test fit your magnets and make sure that the fit isn't too tight, because I've done it before where I've gone to test fit a magnet, it's been too tight a fit, and then it's stuck and I can't actually get out with the magnets, and I then have to go in, spike it out and then rebuild. So something to just bear in mind. And if it is tight, you can just sort of, you know, push up a bit, push down a bit as you're drilling to widen the hole that you're making. And on that point, I think that's nice and smooth now. So that's 2 done. Right, let's now look to this. So what I basically need to do now is mirror the location of this hole into this mounting bracket. I'm going to work with the assumption that it's a pretty much exact lineup, which I think it more or less is. Yeah, I suppose I could heat that up a little bit. Looking at that, it's slightly skewy. That one's okay. But this one's just a little bit. Actually, rather than heating it up, I'm going to get a bonus tool. So I have a Flexifar coarse grained sanding stick here. I'm just going to sand that down a bit. Won't take a lot because those are pretty sharp. And oh yes, I've not got any water to hand to do a wet sand there, naughty me. I'm just going to use a knife to take that down a bit more. That looks better. Let's just do a touch more work with that sanding stick. The next thing I'd like to talk about is something, well, the subject of my last video, which I published a few days ago, which was a grimdark word salad, if I remember rightly, more or less. And I think I was criticizing the standard of writing in 9th edition rules, the upcoming 9th edition rules. I think I'm going to just pause the video a second, and I am going to go and heat bend that into a better position. So I'll be right back. And I'm back. Just a little bit of heat bending on this bracket, and I've got a fit that I'm happy with there. So what we're going to do now is, as I say, I'm going to do the corresponding hole from magnet on this bracket, and I need to approximate the same position here. It's a little trickier to do this. I'm just using this approximate positioning. I think that needs to be slightly further forward, probably about there. Do the same thing on the opposite side. Again, yeah, that's about right. Okay, let's run with those. This time we're only mounting a 1mm depth magnet, so I need to correspondingly drill less deep. I've got to be careful here because there's a real risk of going right through this. If I do, it won't be the end of the world, because the solution to it is then just to, let's say I poke a small hole through, is then just to fill. If you can get that right. There you go, you can see how we are. Still, if I can do it without poking through, then I've saved myself a little bit of work. And there's no prizes for doing more than you need to here. So that's a little bit tight at the moment. I was just doing a little test with there, so I'm going to wind this out a bit more. So it's starting to go through now, so oh dear. This is going to be a tight fit, this. Anyway, let me get back to what I was saying with 9th edition rules. So I made a video on 9th edition rules where I was criticising the standard of the writing, and in particular the effect of putting hard to read rules alongside poor visual design. And I hope you found that interesting, and I also thank everybody who commented on that and shared thoughts and observations. In particular, there were quite a few people who have some form of dyslexia or equivalent condition that affects their ability to comprehend the written word. And there were a good number of people who said, yeah, I find these rules difficult to read. There were some very able readers who said, I found this hard to read. And there's even one chap who said, well, I've got a high level of education, and my family are all, university plus educated, so I tried it out on them. And he said, sister's father, who were, all well educated, they were struggling with reading it. People who are training to become lawyers, scientists, project managers. And he said, yeah, they were struggling to comprehend the meaning of what the rule is. And I'm going to do another video about the way that the information is being presented. So I'm going to try, while I'm in no way dyslexic myself, I have noticed a couple of things with the visual design of the 9th edition core rule snippets, which I can clearly see will cause problems for dyslexic people. And it's for no other reason than poor visual design decisions. I mean, part of it is the writing, but what I'm going to explore in the next video is how the poor layout is exacerbating that. And more than just the point that I made in the previous video about the wall of text problem, this is something new. And something that I hope that people who don't have any issues with, like dyslexia, it might help illustrate in your mind's eye the sort of difficulties that people with dyslexia, or at least an example of those difficulties that these rules, as they've been presented at the moment, are causing. And I'm actually quite worried at the moment about how this is going to go down, because at the end of the day, I want Games Workshop to do well, and their success as an overall business carries through into the hobby that I love, which is a Horus Heresy. Success in the main 40k line, I think it's important to what I'm interested in. And for the wider hobby of wargaming, what's the old phrase? A rising tide lifts all boats in port equally. Yeah, there is that to consider as well. If 40k is doing well, other parts of wargaming are also going to do well because of that, just because of the wider popularization of the hobby. Right, allow me to pause on 9th edition rules. So we have two nicely profiled magnets. As you can see, I've had a little bit of poke through there and more poke through there. I'm not going to touch the poke, pardon the expression, until I stick these in position, because I think once it's stuck, I might be able to use good old spiky here to push some of that resin back into position, and thereby, or maybe actually before it's stuck, actually, let's just go for it now, and thereby reduce the need to fill. So I'm just taking the point. Oh, there you go, straight away. Bingo. Let's now reverse that. So I need to put the magnet in position. This one's not quite so successful. That's mainly because I had more of a poke through, but it's still better. Right, I think it's time to do some sticking, don't you? While I was downstairs thermally exciting some water, I also retrieved the missing tool, which is a coloured Sharpie marker. And we're going to use this to make sure that we keep our polarities consistent when we're sticking magnets in, so we don't get that horrible of experiences where we've got the wrong polarities. First one, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to get super glue. Super glue is an interesting one. You can spend a lot of money on super glue, and some firms, e.g. Gorilla Glue, have made a lot of money from specialized formulations. I've made a lot of resin models and I've worked with quite a few adhesives, and I have to admit, I don't really, apart from a thin viscosity super glue, quite a thin one for fine work, I've never really understood the benefit or been able to objectively determine the benefit of using a different formulation glue. I don't know, that's just me. I'm not saying there aren't benefits, sorry. But yeah, for me, it just, I don't know. It doesn't seem to yield a benefit, I guess, is what I'm saying. All right, I'm going to put a little glue just over that to fill in this recess. See, that's nice and flat. Sorry about the lighting. It would appear that we have overcast slightly. You never know, I might be looking at a rain downpour here. Because it's a little bit on the sweaty side, let me tell you. It is a bit on the sweaty side. And before you ask, no, I am fully dressed while I'm filming this. So I'm not filming in the buff. One done. Right, let's keep the polarity consistent between the sides for no good reason other than I think it's good practice. So I'm going to put a marker on my finger. I'm going to mark the end like that, which connects to there. So we want to hide the red face of the magnet. So this is going in here. So I shall apply some super glue again. Normally I would have a wooden spike for doing this, but I haven't got it to hand. But that doesn't really matter because that was my knuckles then. Getting away just fine with the other approach. So I think we've got the same polarity, that's good. I had a moment, a little heart stop moment though, so I noticed there's a little bit of red marker. I wonder if that might have been one that a magnet face I'd previously marked off and not used for some reason, and then put a stack of magnets back together. Right, so got those two done. Let's now move on to do the 1mm depth magnets in the torso. So firstly, let's get the polarities correct. So we'll detach the 2mm magnets. So we'll stick with the same principle. Actually, this time I'm going to be lazier, and we're going to play the game of keep the red face showing. So now I only have to mark it once. So there you go. So you can see we need to keep that red face showing. Ah, the joys of working with magnets. I could make a comedy video about how magnets always like to attach to things. Oh no, I've done that the wrong way around. Okay, so we are playing the game of red face must go away. I'm going to rub that off. No, red face needs to go away, yeah, like that. I tell you, this heat is getting to me. Leakycheese goes right bend in the heat. The world press reacts with shock and horror. There's the first one done. Just stay there, little magnet chops. Now this is a point at which I'm going to use a little zap of accelerant. Not trying to blow all the resin shavings away. And just see if I can push this back in shape. I'll try his knife for this. I have to excuse any screaming children. Clearly the neighbours are feeding their children to the dogs. Apologies for the sounds of dying infants. I'm sure they're on the trampoline actually. But that doesn't sound quite so grimdark, does it, to say the kids are trampolining? Just run some glue over that poke through, and hopefully now we are at a state where we've got a strong attachment. I'm just going to do the same on the upper face now. That's a moment to set, like so. And one final little zap with the accelerant. And the moment of truth. Hey, let's just have a replay on that. Oh. Perfect. And that, strength-wise, yeah, that's a decent strength. It's not too strong, not too weak. So Goldilocks level of attachment and sophistication here. Right, so we'll stick with our game of hide the red dot. Got the second one, but because we kept the polarities consistent, we don't have to worry about which power pack we use. Dab of glue. On she goes. Yeah, it would appear that magnets are, at least for this moment, they are she's. Nice, and then let's also get a little smudge of glue on. Oh, I've got lots of things happening hobby-wise as well. Little zap of accelerant. You don't need a lot of accelerant. I've been training myself recently to be more frugal with my use of accelerant. One, so I don't think you need masses of it to set the reaction going. And two, excellent. So phase one of project Magnetize the Deredeo is complete. And now are they straight? This one here isn't as straight as I'd like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back later and I'm going to heat bend this bit a bit. It's funny now it's magnetized, it's orientating it slightly different, but I'm just going to heat bend it and roll it so it's like that. So although that's slightly off at the moment, by the time I finished it won't be. So don't panic. Okay, let's move on to do the weapon mounts in the shoulder blocks now. So phase one of the magnetization is complete. Now, this is a little bit more squiffy, this, because first thing, actually, before I get into that, remember that the shoulder blocks have got an up and down as well, and this will affect you on any Deredeo you build. You can see you've got these optics, shall we say, which should go up like that. The camera or the optical unit goes at the top. So that needs to correspond with that. It shouldn't matter for this bit, but when you're assembling your Deredeo, they're not supposed to look like that. It would appear that maybe the children are being put into penitent engines now. Oh dear. Must have been done something very naughty. Let's do these magnets. So I'm going to go center. So center up and down and center forward and back with my hole. Like that. And then I'm going to drill the holes out. So I'm only mounting a single magnet into the weapon. I'm going to put a single magnet into the shoulder block. It's quite a tight little configuration, this, so I don't want to go too deep. Because you could get poked through where you've got that ridge on the inside of the shoulder block where I'm drilling. A bit tight, so I need to just open this up a little bit. Oh, right. Where was I? About 9th edition rules, yeah. So I think where I got to, I'm kind of concerned at the moment that the writing with 9th edition is such that it's not going to go down well with the gaming community, and it's not going to go down well with the new and returning gamers. 8th edition did such a good job of bringing back to the 40k hobby. Now, whether or not you like 8th or not, there is one thing that I certainly think to be true of it, and it's a very accessible game. It's quite simplified, and at times it's even simplistic, but it's also very popular, and it's easy to pick up and play. It's got a very different philosophy to it to, say, the Heresy era games. It's less crunchy than Heresy era, but also you have the general principle in the game whereby the game is designed in such a way to allow you to execute a battle plan, and the success of your battle plan will depend on your dice rolls and the enemy units and your use of cover. There isn't much in 8th edition to say the battlefield is going to turn around and bite you when you're not ready, which the Heresy does have. And there's a lot more events, dear boy, events in the Heresy. You know, reserves are a much more fickle battlefield quantity in Heresy, and games can be won or lost quite easily on your reserve rolls and strategy. And the accuracy of your inbound reinforcements, not so in 8th. But as I say, it's a very accessible game, and the huge financial success of Games Workshop in 2017-18, and in particular 2018, 2019, I think is fairly significantly attributed to that rule set. A lot of it is down to the new miniature range, but the rules play their part. And I'm just kind of worried at the moment that 9th, as it has been shared, and I'm pretty sure it is the final materials, is going to turn people off, and Games Workshop, through essentially, which is just like negligent design decisions and poor writing, and writing for the wrong reasons perhaps, or writing for the right reasons in the wrong way, they're going to erode some of the goodwill of their customer base of recent years, and that will translate into an impact on their bottom line. So, back to the model. We have 2 holes drilled for magnets. So that is a first step done. We're now going to move to the shoulder blocks. Now this is... so I'm going to work with the assumption I've got a direct, so that is going to go there. No, right on. That one goes there. So, this is a bit where we find out how good my alignment is. I hope it's good. If it isn't, I have ideas to fix it. But let's hope it's pretty decent. I'm going to try run this quite close to the edge as well. I think actually I might do one and then the other. I'm going to do one to see how this works out. So I could actually come a bit unstuck with at this point if I've got my estimation wrong. Of course, I'm sort of doing this in the kind of cylindrical standard drill magnet hole approach. I bet there are other ways to do this. I'm pretty sure there are. Okay, so that's about 90% of the depth we need, so a little bit more. And then I'm going to do a test fit with just a dry test fit with the magnets. One of the advantages with this mounting is there's actually kind of like a lot of stuff around it to help with the mounting. So let's take the two magnets, so one in the weapon and then the one that's going to go in the shoulder block, and then we shall test fit. And the moment of truth. That seems to be about okay. We might have got a little bit, when it's at rest, it's got a little bit of outward pointing. Let's see if I can slightly bring this hole forward. I have to do this carefully. So I'm now exerting force upwards to cut away the upper edge. I'm not actually drilling in. I'm turning the hole into like a more of an oblate shape as opposed to a round shape. Oh, actually, I've got another idea. It might be that this hole here needs to be slightly adapted in its orientation. So let me just do a little bit of that now. Did I just lose my magnets? Yes, I did. Right, let's just start mounting these now. I'm going to stick with the same principle, keep all polarities in the same orientation. So now I want the colour to be hidden. So the colour goes there, doesn't it? No, it's the other way around. Yeah, that's right. So we need upward facing camera, which should be the one we're working on. Yep. So we're going to put some glue on. Some glue on. And we move into the realm of particle physics. Let's see what happens. There we go. At that point, I must admit, I think I should probably have had a wooden cocktail stick to hand. But we have achieved the desired result. Not that one, it's this one. Got quite dark now. Oh dear, the amount of, I don't know. I'm not doing very well with atmospheric situations here, am I? I've got noisy children, a lack of light. This is not professional cheese standards we know in demand, is it? This one's a bit easier to do with it standing out. Or so the position on that. Right, quick blast of this because I very rapidly want to test fit this here. Okay, so, well, what you got actually is, this is okay, it's turned out all right, happy with that. There's a little bit of play in it, happy from there to there. What that means in terms of the final model, by using the position on the power cabling, you can get a little bit of orientation in there. In terms of the strength of that, I think it's strong enough. It's not, yeah, that's okay. I mean, just the nature of that joint means it's a bit of mobility in it. Overall, I'm pleased with that. That's good. Right, before we lose any more light or any more children get put in penitent engines, let's do the second one and wrap this up. I think I can just elongate this hole here a bit further forward. Give it some, ooh, there's a good word here, oblasity. Is that even a word? I don't know. It is now. Oblasity. So marking the location of the guide hole again. I'm just going to make that a bit more pronounced. We shall drill. To be honest, in a way, I quite like a thunderstorm now, because if we had a thunderstorm, it's easier to clean up the noise of thunderstorms in post-production than screaming children. So that would be quite handy, actually. I hope that you are finding this a useful demonstration. Sometimes you have to carry on in the face of adversity, so you might be struggling with lots of cloud, screaming kids, and other things, but we quest forth and onwards. Oh, hello. I wonder if that might have been the first rumble of thunder. Okay, so I've got both magnets dry fitted. Let's now go for a test fit. And that feels very similar to the other side. I might have got that a bit better centered than the other side. Just a touch, just a soup song. And I need to clean up this magnet slightly so it's got a bit of adhesive on it. It'll probably end up sounding all right to you guys and girls. I'll edit out a lot of the screams. It's mainly just distracting me. Let me work this out. Let's do the gun first. So we'll play the game with hide the colour. Oh, here it comes. Here comes the rain. There's a song in that, isn't there? Rain those kids off. Get rid of the screaming. And just bear with me a second. The sound is not cyclonic torpedoes or kinetic kill munitions from orbit, but it's finally a much awaited rainstorm. Right, there we are. So we've got that one done now. And one last game of hide the colour. A bit of a fight with getting that magnet in. Okay, and I think more or less we've got a similar result to the other side there, in that we've got some move, but we've got a decent strength of attachment point. Obviously, you know, at that stage where you saw it fly off, that wouldn't happen once it's built because it'll be attached to this. Then you've got a second set of magnets on the other side. Let's just wrap this up by trying to bring everything together in a quick summary. So we've got 2 shoulder blocks and plasma carronades magnetized. And then we've got the 2 power packs on the torso, also magnetized. So when Rihanna gets this and she posed it, all she'll need to do is connect the power conduits, the power cabling between the 2, and heat bend them into whatever orientation she'll like them in. And yeah, she'll be done. So there you go, a quick demonstration of how to magnetize the arm weapons on Forge World's Deredeo Dreadnought. I hope you found this an interesting and useful video. If you've done this yourself and you've got ideas or suggestions, I would be interested to hear. Please share those in the comment section. I'm sure there are other ways to do this, and probably better ways than I've done it, but as always, I'll be interested to hear, as I would on any of the subjects and topics I've discussed in this video, with the exception of those screaming kids. And as well, don't forget, check out Race for Terra's channel, and in particular, go watch that video about the Forge World style of painting. Well worth your time. But other than that, I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you next time, and goodbye.